Welcome. Thank you for being here. If you will all rise, please, and Mr. Morris is going to lead us in prayer, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Morris.
Join me in prayer, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this day. We thank you for your love and your blessings. We thank you for the United States of America. Lord, we just pray that you protect our first responders, our military people, and all of those who are in harm's way. I thank you for the mayor. I thank you for city council. And I thank you for each of us citizens who are here tonight. So I pray this meeting goes well, and that everybody walks away from here pleased. And I thank you for all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Rebecca, can I get a roll call?
Dan Martin.
Here.
Caleb Flegge.
Here.
Amy Long. Here. Sherry Gaskell.
Here.
Rose Beach. Matt Brown.
Here.
Announcements. So we have the spring tea at the Gaines House, May 18th from 2 to 4. A town hall meeting. There are discussion items, but it's an open forum. That will be May 22nd at 7 p.m. here at the Senior Center. City Hall will be closed May 26th for Memorial Day. The Senior Center is now open, beginning Friday. It will be open 5 days a week. And if you're interested in the calendar of events, it's right out in the hallway. On that, we did hire 2 part-time employees to help run the Senior Center, so we're excited about that. They're going to start next week. So you're going to see different faces around, and they've been brought up to speed about what a great team we have here. They could be pulling on Public Works. We'll definitely be pulling on the ladies in the office, but good things happening with the Senior Center. So thanks to everyone who's made that possible. Public Works Week is May 19th to the 23rd, so we'll look forward to celebrating those gentlemen. And the splash pad will open for the 2025 season on May the 23rd. That should be the Friday before Memorial Day. But we do have to follow up with the health department to make sure.
Yes, we have an appointment.
What are the times on that, man?
The splash pad?
Yeah, what is it, just?
Didn't we close at 8 o'clock last year, Matt?
Yeah.
And that became like, and we may talk about the town hall meeting because that can be changed. Obviously, the longer we're open, the more the water costs. But in the summertime, when it's 89 degrees at 8:30, people are still wanting to use it. So that's something that council can decide what those hours will be. But last year it was, I believe, from 8 a.m., guys, 8 a.m.? 8 to 8, thank you. I had another list. I just want to make sure we got all the announcements. There was to be a business coalition meeting on May 23rd here at the Senior Center, but we're going to cancel that and reschedule because of the holiday weekend. Just making sure that we get that information out. So if you know some people that attend, feel free to share. It will be rescheduled for the 3rd Friday in June. And if we can get an approval of the agenda, please.
Motion to approve?
I'll second that.
Dan Martin.
Yes.
Caleb Flegge.
Yes.
Amy Long.
Yes.
Sherry Gaskell.
Here. Yes.
Rose Beach. Matt Brown.
Yes.
And approval of the minutes. This would be for the April 8th, 2025 council meeting and the May 6th, 2025 caucus meeting.
Motion to combine as one unit and approve as one unit?
Second.
Dan Martin.
Yes.
Caleb Flegge.
Yes.
Amy Long.
Yes.
Sherry Gaskell.
Yes.
Rose Beach. Matt Brown.
Yes.
And we'll open up the citizens' comments. I know back row that you're here for something specific, right? If you want to, we can open discussion before the vote if you choose. You're free to speak now, but if you want to wait until that point, we can absolutely open for discussion. Does anyone have any comments at this time? Yes, sir.
Target date for Main Street to be repaved. Did I hear you say a few months ago you were going to repave Main Street, or was I hearing?
I don't think they scheduled it yet.
Mr. Bogan?
They had said this month. I don't have a specific date, but I'll check in with them.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
That'll be a nice upgrade, and then we're dodging the manhole covers. And the potholes. Mr. John Wainwright could speak to that. Any other citizens' comments?
you wanted to add anything for the senior center, or you get?
If you want to share with the lady, share who the ladies are and what that equates to, John?
Yeah, so, just to give everyone an update, we had 7 applicants to the senior center part-time position, the coordinator position. And me and Rebecca, we had a lot of really good interviews, really good candidates. So kudos to our residents who wanted to, and we ended up choosing 2. And I just wanted to give the council an update on why we chose to do that. Originally, our thought was to hire 1 person, right, and to do all the hours. And just having, the people that interviewed for the job were very specific. A lot of them were retirees. They, kind of finishing their career. They have a lot of grandkids, want to travel. They weren't looking for like, hey, I'm here all the time and never get a chance to leave. But they were amazing. They had really good candidates. So we ended up talking to 2 of them about just sharing the hours, and they were ecstatic about it, right? So they're their own coverage. So think about it, it's like, yeah, I need off Monday, right? So we say, okay, the position is 30 hours a week. How they divvy that up is going to be on them, and with Rebecca's supervision. So it's still the same, even though we hired 2, the same amount of hours, same amount of cost, pay them the same. So there's no difference on the budget that we talked about. But what it does give us is a ton of flexibility. Someone's sick, someone's on vacation, they can go to their grandkids, and we brought the 2 of them together yesterday, and they hit it off like thick as thieves. Like, they've known each other for years.
Awesome.
And they're already communicated how we're going to make the senior center great, what day is great for you, here's my ideas. And so the idea of bringing 2 folks, one, we didn't think about it originally, and we should have, because I think it's going to be really good for the center to have that level of flexibility. And then we were able to have 2 folks that were really caring and excited about doing the role.
No, I think you covered it.
We felt like God kissed our forehead in this situation, right? Because we again had 7 applicants, but 2, that they really liked, just strong in what they brought, and the fact that we could utilize both is going to be a win for our seniors, and that's our focus. So we're looking forward to. They do have scheduled vacations coming up, so we're working through that. And again, the ball will not be dropped here. There will be coverage, and the people will be cared for. But this Friday is our first Friday with the Senior Center, so we're excited about that. Bailey Janes is providing donuts, and it'll be a euchre day. So we're going 5 days a week after Friday. Mr. Morris is sitting here on Tuesdays. He's going to be leading Bible study for our seniors. So I think that's going to be amazing for the community, and if you're interested in that, or you know someone that will be. On the way out, if you want to grab a calendar on the left as you're walking out the door, it's going to be the rest of the May calendar from the 16th moving forward. And then
me and Rebecca worked on the June calendar yesterday, so we're pretty locked in. We have a couple small details like lunches. So the one thing is they were getting fed twice a month, but those lunches were tied to like lunch and learns, right? So it'd be an insurance company or a fiduciary company paying for Snappy to have that, whatever. So we're going to go to at least something once a week, and that's going to be driven volunteer donation, like local businesses that want. So our seniors not only are going to have more days a week, not only are we going to have more coverage with employees, but they're also going to be fed more. You can see we got the new tables, thanks to the staff for putting together the chairs. I know they were paying the butt, but the reason we got these is that the seniors can stand up, right, without having to put their hands on the table. They have arms, the right ones. The chairs you're sitting in are the proper chairs for chair yoga. So we're just going to do it the right way. And so you'll see some things, emails, some costs that will come up in the budget discussion, just to do this thing the right way.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited about the folks we got, and with your partnership, I think it will be the best senior center we're going.
I agree. I look forward to it. Thank you, John.
Yeah, of course.
Any other citizens' comments before we move on? Major Bill Mark with the Sheriff's Department. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. All right, good to be with you all tonight. Council's got a copy of my report. The Sheriff's Department logged a total of 812 law enforcement events in and for the city of Walton in the month of April 2025. Some of those include 7 911 hang-ups, deputies responded to 25 alarm drops, 4 attempts to locate, 3 animal complaints, Deputies worked 20 automobile collisions, investigated 1 burglary. They logged 17 business checks, attempted 61 civil or criminal summonses, handled 5 domestic disputes, 2 complaints of intoxicated persons, 4 emotional crises, 2 juvenile trouble complaints, handled 7 motorist assists, 4 requests for information. Deputies logged 358 spot checks, investigated 14 suspicious activity reports. They investigated 2 thefts, logged 15 traffic complaints. Deputies conducted 38 traffic stops, handled 14 vehicle complaints. We unlocked 11 cars, went on 4 wanted person calls, and all told, they issued 43 citations and made 9 arrests. Any questions about the sheriff's report? One other thing I've got, I'd like to introduce my companion here tonight. This is Lieutenant Jason Knoll. Jason's the lieutenant in charge of our traffic unit for about another 14 days. He'll be promoted to the rank of major on the 2nd of June. And starting in June, he will be your liaison in my place. So you'll be seeing his smiling face the second Tuesday of every month.
Welcome, and we're glad to have you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Where are you skirting off to?
Retirement.
Good for you. Outstanding.
So after 38 years, I'm out of here.
Congratulations.
Take me with you. That's great. that
My
you get
wife just might object.
Well, yeah, I just want to retire. That's good. We're going to miss you so much. But again, welcome, sir. We look forward to working with you.
Yeah, you're in very good hands with Jason. So
You will be missed. So this will be your last month?
this is my last go-round. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I guess I'm going to have to see you in Kroger. That's where I've run
That's
into you
right.
otherwise. Yeah.
We can go through Rose's checkout line together.
There you go.
I did want to revisit your inquiry about the park before I leave.
Yes.
We've discussed that at length with the sheriff and his staff, and I don't feel like we can commit to doing it every night, night in and night out.
That's understandable because my request has changed, so hopefully this one will work, right? So what we found is it's rather difficult locking it up nightly, unlocking it in the mornings, especially on the weekends for our gentlemen. So my hope was that as long as the hours of the park are duly posted and it shows from dusk to dawn, that Boone County would at the very least patrol the park.
Oh, without a doubt.
Absolutely,
Without
good.
a doubt. And I took the liberty of checking with the county parks director because, there's a total of 8 county parks, including the one in your city that are all locked up nightly. And they hire somebody who's a Walton resident to lock up the park on Old Stevenson Mill.
Well, I'm not sure it's being
I don't-
locked.
Yeah, we don't,
Yep.
they don't lock the park.
They lock the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we don't have those yet, so.
Right, yeah, but,
Like-
all 8 county parks either require the gates to be locked or the bathrooms to be locked,
Okay,
and that's all outsourced. And David said, if you wanted to reach out to him, he could put you in touch with the person that's responsible for the park over there.
okay, restate that, make sure I didn't miss anything. Did you say that that we have to lock the park at
Oh,
night?
no,
Okay,
ma'am,
very
not
good.
at all.
Okay,
But he said, if the person that they contract with to lock the park on Old Stevenson Mill may be willing to do the city park for you as well.
understood. Well, if your staff is willing to patrol for us, then I think that solves for us, right? Because we can make sure that the signage is there, and we
Sure.
will include the fact that it will be patrolled by Boone County.
Right. Yeah, and I guess if you're going to leave it open, you'll have signage stating the park hours.
Yes, sir. And that any time outside that time frame would be considered trespassing? Awesome. Then that serves exactly what we need.
Very good.
Great appreciation. Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you, sir. You'll be missed. Moving right along to Chief Vest. Chief, you retiring on us tonight? Okay.
Good evening. For the month of April 2025, fire department responded to 42 separate fire-related incidents and an additional 140 EMS incidents. Out of those incidents during the month, 12 of those was motor vehicle crashes, 2 of them were overdoses, 7 of them were structure fires, 1 was a cardiac or respiratory arrest, and there were no stabbings or shootings in the month of April. I know on your all's report, it says January 1 through March 31, that's a typo. It's through the end of April. So for this calendar year, through the end of April, fire departments responded to a total of 149 fire-related incidents, 537 EMS incidents, 23 of those were structure fires. We had 2 stabbings or shootings that we responded to, total of 9 overdoses, 40 motor vehicle crashes, and 11 cardiac or respiratory arrests. So it's been a very busy year for us. Anyone have any questions?
Is the new equipment all operational?
We got 2 new engines. They're up and operational. Last week, we got a new ambulance. It's up and operational. I've got a flatbed truck. It's going to be dual purpose as far as usage. It's going to have a skid unit with 300 gallons of water and a 500 gallon per minute pump on it. And it's going to be a quick attack truck. So some of these places, they're a little hard to get the engine through and it's a little slower to get the response. We'll be able to get that truck and hopefully get a quick knockdown on the fire in those places. And we're working on pre-planning those specific addresses. The other use for it will be a second brush truck or wildland truck unit for us. So we'll be able to take that off road if need be. We've got a new brush truck. It's a frontline brush truck. It is up and in operation. And we took our old brush truck, which is still in really good shape, and it's doing a dual purpose now for us. I had a custom-made camper cap put on it, and it's got compartments and stuff we need. And it can be used either as a utility truck, so we get a major fire and it's 3 o'clock in the morning and 20 below zero out or whatnot, we can roll a hose, take contaminated fire gear, tools, stuff like that, throw it in the back of the truck, go back to the firehouse, and then reload and clean all that equipment up in a climate-controlled environment. The other use, we've got floor dry and some hazardous material stuff. So with the truck stops, the interstates, the railroads, and that type of stuff that we have in the district, all the county hazmat units are in the north end of the county now. So we wanted to have something to where fuel spills and minor hazmat incidents, we could at least get something on the scene quickly in the southern end of the county. So we're doing that. I have one other ambulance on order, and it is supposed to be delivered like November of 26. So.
All right.
Any other questions? All right, thank you all.
Thank you, Chief. Cardinal Engineering, Mr. Matt Bogan.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So I've got a quick update on the High Street Bridge project. So as of caucus last week, I was waiting on a call back from the state just to see where things stood with their review. I had a good conversation with them today, just getting them caught up on the things that had changed with the scope of the project over the last few years, and pretty much letting them know that this was for the cultural environmental certification. Previously they had looked at the historic buildings in the project area, just making sure we're not going to have any adverse impacts on that. So they didn't really have any concerns. He thought he was pretty clear on what we were doing. He said he might stop up here just to walk around and take a look at things, but otherwise he felt he could advance that to his superiors for approval. So hoping to hear some good news on that soon. On our road projects, getting the bid specs together for our annual resurfacing contract, and also paving the new parking lot at the community park. And I think I mentioned, but there was more dirt that had been excavated from the splash pad than we originally expected, and there was enough that the contractor was able to grade out a nice pad along the side of the parking lot. So depending on the demand, we could either use that to add more parking spaces in the future, or just leave that grass and have that it'd be a nice seating area for the movies in the park. And we also got our fourth round of concrete panel replacement repairs done. We're just shy of halfway into the $60,000 we budgeted for that. So, if there's any other areas that desperately need it, we could probably get another round of repairs done before the end of the fiscal year, or just carry it over for next year. There is one area that I know of that Public Works did a water main patch just on the other side of the railroad tracks here. So I'll talk to Jonathan and try to find some other areas that we can fit in just to have enough for a call out. And then we've got replacement hardware on the way for the speed hump that was on Mullen Drive. So when we get that in, we'll have some internal discussion and I guess see whatever comes up at the town hall meeting, and trying to find the best place to reinstall that. And then also, we're also working on bid specs for the sand volleyball courts at the Owens property at the park. Planning on putting those out to bid the same time as the road projects, so that we can just have all those numbers ready for budgeting for the new year. So, any council questions or public?
I talked to Dr. Baker, and he was stating that now, so directly across from the main entrance for the high school, so if you're going to go back around, not right there at Alta Vista, so in the midst of School Road. Anyhow, across there is their wrestling facility, which used to be the old tractor place.
Oh, yeah.
And because of parking, they're going to have to utilize that during the school day for parking. And so he was curious what we could do for crosswalk and lighting there for the students to be crossing. So that he just mentioned that in the last couple weeks, and he wants to potentially have something done before August when school starts again. So
Okay, not a problem. Yeah, I mean, we can have Dirtworks do that. We could at least add the sidewalk ramps, and then we could do the striping, and work that into our road contract.
awesome.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, sir. Anything else for Mr. Bogan?
Matt, how long are we now on the bridge?
Bridges.
I think you can answer that, yeah.
So that started in 2016. Possibly earlier on the
14 is
very
when we got
early
the
planning stages.
Do we think it's ever gonna happen?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just saying, this started when Charlie was born, and she's now 12. All ever know, this is covered, this is sometimes the length of.
And you know all too well, John, dealing with the railroad and everyone that we've dealt with, and I know it's been Matt Brown's whole
Labor of love.
council life, right?
Very much.
But we are getting close, and hopefully you think it'd be by the end of the year that we're moving forward?
They're going through formalities now, reapproving some of the stuff that they had previously okayed. It just had sat for too long, and they just need to, rubber stamp it again. But yeah.
When it started, even before I was on council.
Well, so the grant was in 14, you stated?
I mean,
Yeah.
even when we finally got the grant through, Mayor Herzog, ex-Mayor Herzog, had gotten it to a point where they was getting ready to dig in the ground and they quit. So this has been
I don't know
going
nothing
on
about
for
it.
years.
Yeah, well, we're not quitting. We're going to keep moving forward, hopefully.
The city didn't quit, the railroad did.
Oh, yeah, well, we've got everything we need from the river, right? We shouldn't have,
We're
and with
good
Duke
with
too.
railroad.
Right now, it's just moving forward
Yeah,
with,
it's getting reauthorized through the state.
Yeah.
They're still holding the grant money for us. I've been in touch with OKI. They're happy. So yeah.
Did we get any interest on it, holding that money?
What's that?
Any interest on holding that money? That was a joke.
Just
but-
the increase
It's
that
been
I
sitting there so long.
got. There was the increase that we requested a couple years ago and they granted, and then yeah, it's of
Is
roads.
it Matt that decides what's gonna happen to the bathrooms down here at the park? Have y'all just come up with that?
No, that'll be us.
Well, I mean, is it?
Well, his input's valuable, right? Because I think the reason she's bringing that up, when we talked about the bathrooms being permanent structures down at the park, I know that there's a sewer moratorium right in the city, and Mr. Duncan, this might be for you. If we were to move forward with the permanent structure and yet we're still under the moratorium, would we have to then do septic, the city?
I guess we'd have to evaluate, from Matt's perspective, how much we would use and whether it would be a violation of the moratorium. I would hate to see us have to go to the expense of a septic system and then just abandon it if we hooked into the sewer.
Right.
That's called a curveball in the public.
Look, we're not trying to get preferential treatment here at the city, right?
No. No, I meant a curveball on me.
Oh, okay, very
Dropping
good.
that on me tonight without time to think about it.
Yeah. That's cool. We'll further those discussions.
Yeah.
Because as we're talking about budget, right, we're looking at what could happen permanently at the park, and obviously sewer's in question, so. Anything else for Mr. Bogan?
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you, sir. Moving on to city business. The first is going to be the second reading of ordinance 2025-02, an ordinance of the city of Walton amending chapter 91 of the Walton Code of Ordinances by creating section 91.50 therein in order to require property owners to mow the grass and maintain landscaping and trees in the area between the sidewalk fronting their property and the street or road, and providing for code enforcement. Mr. Duncan?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As indicated there, this is a new section as proposed for the Code of Ordinances. As you all are aware, there is a right-of-way that surrounds every public street and road, and there is a strip typically in front of every property that is actually the right-of-way. But what this does is requires the property owner that abuts that strip, whether there's a sidewalk there or not, to maintain the grass and trees and whatever vegetation there might be in that area, so that we don't have obstructions to view and nuisances created there. That's the second reading and consideration for adoption. You can do that by motion if you'd like to adopt this ordinance.
Motion to approve?
Second that.
Dan Martin,
Yes.
Caleb Flaggy,
Yes.
Amy Long,
Yes.
Sherry Gaskell,
Yes.
Rose Beach, Matt Brown.
Yes.
And this will be the second reading of ordinance 2025-03, an ordinance of the city of Walton, Kentucky, amending ordinances 2020-09, 2021-03, 2022, -04, and section 35.01 of the Walton Code of Ordinances in order to adopt and approve revisions to the city's personnel policies, employee handbook by terminating the city vehicle home fleet regulations.
Thank you, Mayor. As indicated, you read the various ordinances that have adopted and amended the city code, employee handbook, personnel policies, and this specifically will amend the one that relates to the home fleet policy. You can see that on page 2 of the ordinance, and this will require the city vehicles to be returned to the city garage at the end of every shift, and then driven out for the work shift on the next day of work. So you can consider this second reading, and you can consider it for adoption and adopt it by motion if you like.
Prior to moving forward, I just want to give the folks on the back row there, I know they're here for this purpose. As promised, just open it up for comments. Yes, sir, Tom?
Yeah, you know, I've been here 16 years. When I was hired in here, I was hired with a truck.
go back and forth to work, emergencies, everything else. If you take our trucks away from us, the response time to come in here and fix a water leak, remove snow, all that, pump stations is gonna be really hurt. And plus, I don't wanna get in my personal vehicle after I've been in a mud hole most of the night, and working on a water leak or something, covered in mud. I think it's a shame that they wanna do that to us.
And I appreciate your feedback. I understand that this whole conversation doesn't feel good, especially with the people in the back row, right? And it's really not about feelings, although that's what's involved. It's about liability on the city, liability on the taxpayers, circumventing IRS rules for however long the take-home policy has been, right? We've not handled it correctly. Also, and just speaking to, and this has just been my experience, Tom, and speaking to who I call experts, one being our insurance gentleman. I know Sherry has spoken with an attorney at the Kentucky League of Cities, as well as I've had the opportunity to talk to Ben, our accountant. Their opinion and from their experience is that the city's opening themselves to great liability by allowing the take-home vehicles. And to your point about response times, believe me, these conversations, and anyone on council who wants to pitch in, they've been going on for quite some time prior to me being mayor. And John could probably attest, Marjorie too, I'm not sure. Again, I understand that it doesn't feel good for those who have had a take-home vehicle. We have hired new folks in who have not had, and although it's in the handbook that if they're within a certain radius, that would be one of their benefits. Explained to them at the time that they were hired to that we were in the process of just looking at this policy. But again, it's more about liability, cost. Something has to change regardless if this passes tonight or not. What would have to change is how we are circumventing the IRS. And when we talk about response times, because what you do is important, but what we're not doing right is, just to be straightforward, saving lives. So that if, for our fire department, for our first responders who potentially have to get to a car wreck or to an ambulance call, fortunately that's not the position we're in. What we do is important, but again, when we talk about emergency, when we talk about a water main break, sure, minutes matter.
Same with the pump station and then malfunction.
Yeah, that could end up in a creaking second.
I mean, you got a main break there in front of the armory. It's right there. I mean, it can drain a water tower really fast.
And speaking to some of you in the back row, just understanding, exactly what that entails, because I've never worked a water main break. Some of the things that occur, we don't even need our work vehicles, do we, right? We may need a key to the pump station or the pump. I'm sorry, I'm not well versed in the verbiage, but.
Everything we need is on our work trucks.
Sorry, what you said?
Everything that we need to do our job is on our work trucks. That's why we.
And you can come and get it.
On the way down here.
So Bobby had his hand up. Go ahead, Bobby.
This will have to be confirmed with Mr. Duncan, but on my way down here, I was not looking things up.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, on my way down here, I was trying to kind of fact check some things, so I have to run this past Mr. Duncan to see if it's actually correct. 2010, the IRS laws have changed. I'm on federalregister.gov. Non-qualified personal vehicle is essentially what allows the sheriff's department to take on cruisers. Those are marked vehicles. Prior to 2010, our vehicles would not have fit that definition. That definition changed in 2010, and any vehicle clearly marked that cannot be used normally for personal use does qualify as a non-qualified personal vehicle. So it would be exempt under the IRS. 2003, not that we're heroes like the fire department and sheriff's department. 2003, George W. Bush declared public works first responder.
If you're checking that with me, I have to take your word
That's why I
for
said,
it.
we'll have to double check. So if anybody is going to vote, take what, I don't have, I live outside the loop of the policy, I don't get a truck. If you're gonna take away Tom's truck, Ryan's truck, I mean, this came up, I have a unique perspective. I sat where you all are sitting, and now I'm sitting over here. This came up, just like the pit bull man comes up every time. They want to take away Ryan's truck, because he lives all the way up in Ohio. Ryan was hired with that as a promised partner. Can I talk about your job?
Sure.
His support system for a special needs child lives up by him, and that's why he has to stay, or wants to stay where he's at. That's why that truck was given to him. That was all her. If we can't trust the man, he shouldn't be in charge of the sewer.
Well, I don't think anyone's doubting Ryan's word, right? You know,
But this feels a lot like, if you ever seen the movie Office Space,
no.
they bring in some people with downside, and they find out that Milton has been working for 5 years, and he got fired. But there was a glitch in the system, and they figured out the glitch, and they just fixed the glitch. They just didn't tell him no. So if you're gonna take away the trucks, and make them drive their personal vehicle, there's a whole thing with the liability. Somebody's done the research, right? How many times has a public works truck been involved in an accident to and from work? Y'all
Zero.
know?
But
You're worried about the liability, right?
Yeah, but just because it hasn't happened before doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I
It can
mean,
happen tomorrow.
yeah.
Can I
Absolutely.
say something?
Yeah.
I just,
Also, if you're taking away their trucks and making them drive their personal vehicles, you're giving them a deduction back. They now have to pay gas money that they've never paid for 16 years.
Well, that's the problem that the accountant has. And just because it's been happening doesn't mean it's right, because it's not right. It hasn't been handled appropriately. So when you're, asking Mr. Duncan questions, Ben, our accountant, might be well-versed in some of the things that you're talking about, and it's conversations that we've had with Ben. So in other words, for example, if you're using $400 a month in gas to and from your home on your personal time where you're not clocked in with the city, that has to be reimbursed to the city. It has to be reimbursed to the city, or it has to be grossed up wages. And talking to our accountant, just the wear and tear on the vehicles, it would be seen as a benefit, right? Which has never been seen as a benefit on our W-2. So again, that takes me to the point where we talked about something has to change. It's either going to be us abiding by the IRS rules, which we've not done, or listening to our experts who we employ on which direction we should go. But again, it's up to council. Sherry, what do you have?
I just wanted to say, you want to say something first? Bobby?
Whatever, I have an interruption,
Well-
so I make sure I raise my hand and you call.
Okay. This is not about taking trucks away from you. This is not about making you drive your personal trucks. This all came up because of the IRS, and then as I have investigated a little further, not to take them from you at all, but I have been advised by an attorney from KLC today, it was my last time that I talked to them, that this is a terrible, terrible idea, and it could really put the city in a lot of trouble. Has there been an accident? No. There hasn't been an accident, and thank God there hasn't been an accident. And I don't make the rules. I'm just trying to abide by the rules, where he told me today, no take-home trucks are allowed. Because that is a terrible.
So then after quitting time, are we required to be in here then?
After quitting time, you take your truck back to the,
Now, he's asking if we're still on call,
Yeah, we still on
24/7.
call.
Yeah, we would be on call, but as Bobby, you can explain how on-call works to your peers, because you have to live it now. You don't have a take-home vehicle, so how does that work?
We wouldn't be assessing on call. he doesn't have a work truck, so I wouldn't call him. I would call somebody with a work truck, because they have the tools on their truck. And they can go to wherever we need to go to.
Okay, but that, again, how does it work now that if you're, because Bobby has been called in. He has been called in for snow removal. He's been called in, so it's applied to him. So Bobby, explain that process.
Assuming it doesn't change, we get DOT mileage reimbursement, not your mileage on our house.
And that's, you know, from a gentleman who doesn't have a take-home truck. Ryan, I saw your hand. Yes, sir.
Ryan Erickson,
Hi,
water
Ryan.
wastewater manager. Been here 7 years. I'm the one that keeps the city in compliance for wastewater and drinking water. Again, as Tom said, I was hired in with this work truck. I worry that the council's priority of assets is with a splash pad that costs $10,000 a month in water that we put down a creek, and heat core tablets that cost $6,600 for summer. And that's not even counting the initial cost and upkeep. The city has an asset of a fishing lake that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars in upkeep. But you, as a council, wants to take away from an employee an asset that I think, I'm a little biased, but is your number one asset. And it doesn't make sense to me, and I hope you reconsider.
I honestly do 100% understand what you're talking about. It's not that we're taking it away from you, it's that it shouldn't have been done in the first place. That was the problem, because it didn't get handled properly. You didn't get it put on your...
I would not have taken the job if I did not have a work truck.
Do you use your work truck?
For my personal use, I do not.
Okay, so
I
you
back
drive
and
to
forth
work,
and that's it.
and while you're at your station, you don't use your truck and leave? You don't go anywhere? You're pretty much right there?
My station, you mean my work?
Yeah, your work, where you are.
Yes, I drive around and check pump stations.
Okay, and it's not about money either. It's not
It's
about
not about money?
It's not about the money that it costs to do it. It's not.
I think, and I just keeping it respectful, right? I think part of what Sherry's saying too is liability. And I want to share with you, insurance, thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah.
Because in the meeting I just sat in on, our insurance just increased $20,000 on the year. And that's a lot of money. That's taxpayer dollars, right? And so although, you know, it may not feel like that.
So that will go down if we do not have take-home vehicles.
No, it will not.
That doesn't make any sense.
What doesn't make any sense? No, the insurance, I asked our insurance provider about if there were no take-home vehicles, does that, because we just had to re-up. We have to sign before the new fiscal year, right? So Rebecca and I sat down with Jeff Martin at Gross Insurance, Weddington Insurance. We sat down with him just to understand what, and these questions were asked. As I shared with you that I've talked to both the accountant and the insurance gentleman, as well as Sherry, I know has talked to the Kentucky League of Cities attorneys. Yes, sir.
Assuming that I have found new information that needs to be verified, I would urge the council to table this discussion, because I possibly have found an exemption for a public works vehicle that totally negates the tax law problem that we possibly have. If it's a liability issue, you just said, so we're not gonna get, are we gonna get a deduction next year or a reduced fee next year because we're not driving our truck?
No, I question that. The only,
Okay, so the liability necessarily, the only liability is anything could happen. The fact that, me and my family in the campground for 53 years, the fact that your insurance company allows you to have people swim without lady boggles my mind. That
I don't
is
see the
way
issue with
more
the lady.
dangerous. That is way more dangerous than these
not
things
even
driving their trucks to
Is
and
that
from
there is-
their house.
okay, so this may or may not be a well-received example, but I'll use it. I'm not going to list names, but we'll just use it as a hypothetical, right? And it's talking about who's funding all of this, right? It's our taxpayers. It's those that we represent. And in that, we need to make sure that you guys are well compensated appreciate it, given great working conditions, all that we can do for our employees, one, to retain, two, just to treat our employees right. We're all human, and treat others the way that we want to be treated. When here's an example. So during the snowstorm, right, if I have a take-home truck and I'm at my house and I go over an embankment in the city truck, now it's the taxpayer's cost to pull the truck out, right? So it's beyond a crash, God forbid. It's nothing that we want. And when we ask about the history of, I don't think any of us here know if there's ever been an after-hour accident in one of the city vehicles, because nobody up here has been here, besides Rose potentially, who's not here tonight, has been here since the beginning of take-home trucks. So when we talk about liability, it can be beyond crash, okay? It can be property damage, or if I'm supposed to get up, and I'm just using me as an example, I'm not a city employee, but if I'm supposed to get up and be at work at 7, then it's on me to get out of my driveway on those snowy days, right? Not to go over the embankment. If I do, I'm gonna have to pay for the tow truck, not the citizen. So these are examples. That is an example of what has happened. But again, it's not finger pointing as much as listening to the experts. When we listen to the accountant, when we listen to the attorney, when we listen to our insurance agent, when we talk to KLC, the Kentucky League of Cities, who are experts, it's been strongly recommended that we park the trucks at night.
I'm just saying that possibly having the IRS exemption for that. We had an expert back, we had a great accountant, we thought when I was on council, but he forgot the entire portion of Kent County when he was the budget.
And we call him great?
Sometimes those experts need to be backed up.
Well, absolutely. I mean,
Those experts are employees of the city that affect any of what they say.
I'm sorry, Ryan, I didn't hear you.
None of these experts affect them. They are not employees of the city like us. This directly affects us, and it feels very bad.
Well, so that would make the experts non-partial, right? They don't have a vested interest in either way.
They
So,
want to get paid.
well, yeah, but our decision isn't affected by, or isn't going to affect them getting paid on that. Like, you have a vested interest in our decision. That's why you feel so passionate. The people who are saying we shouldn't, they don't, it doesn't affect them either way if we continue to do this or not. So they're unbiased. Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely.
Barb, you have a comment?
My question is, how many cities around Kentucky, what other cities let their workers take their trucks?
Independence of Ridge, Iowa, Illinois.
And others don't. And there's some that do, and there's some that don't. Yes,
And
ma'am.
the other cities, don't they compensate, like to say that they're given, there's so much put on their wage a year based
It's
on
on
the
their
fact that
W-2, they
they're
have
given
to
a
claim.
truck and that they're given a gas card?
Well, any city that's following the IRS guidelines, which
I don't know
we-
any city
we have
that
it.
does that.
It does.
That
If you take away
makes
their
it claim
trucks,
that
then
they
they
should be compensated for the loss.
Well, because currently they're not being compensated. It's not counted as their compensation now. So if we took it away, it wouldn't change their
We're
compensation.
gonna spend their money because it never have to do because of the city error. I couldn't come up, I screwed up, and you're gonna pay the price.
What does that mean, Bobby? The way I see it, let's look at it. Okay, no, wait a second. Let's look at it glass half full, glass half empty, right? If I'm an employee that for 16 years I've been getting free gas and free vehicle coming to and from work, regardless of how it was instated, just to your point, through that time, there probably should have been something seen on the W-2 as a benefit. I know the school in the last 20, 30 years, that's exactly what they did with the folks who work in their garage. It has to be seen as a benefit. I would ask any of you to reach out to the accountant. Ben knows the tax laws better than any of us in this room. And there's...
I'm gonna take this tax option, that's what I hope.
Absolutely, feel free.
I make a motion to table the discussion.
I second that motion.
Before we vote on it, does anybody else want to speak while we have all 6 of you guys here? I don't want to discount you.
Yes, ma'am.
My dad worked for the city for years. He did not have no take home. He Doug, you all have outfits and everything. He did not. He responded to calls. He worked when it was a reservoir overnight. He responded to calls. Yes, it takes time to get there, but you can get there if you love your job.
Change. Cops used to have to stop people's houses and call this back.
Bobby, who's paying for your gas to work, buddy? Who's paying for your gas to come to work?
Comes out of my paycheck.
It comes out, so you pay it. So
Okay.
you think it's
I was
fair
fine
that-
with that policy. I live too far away from the city. If I lived in the city, I would have.
You don't live the furthest, do you? Yeah, that's a long
I
way.
didn't negotiate that into my hiring contract.
Rebecca, can we get a vote?
So this would be yes, sir, go ahead.
Right.
Ryan, as Ryan pointed out, I mean, it feels very unfair, and I can totally agree with that. I mean, Walton is a community on the outskirts of Pioneer, Rock, Crittenden, and further. And so that's a benefit to them, and it's being taken away because the previous council or some members that were here before missed that. I could totally understand to your point. And also, you know, the city has spent money on this park. There's no sidewalk to get there. They're spending money on a splash pad. And anytime any other benefits are brought up that I've been to the city council meetings, the excuse has been, well, we're on a sewer moratorium. So you're asking people who might be outside of the community to work for the community, where there's also been a pay stub tax added. You're having higher housing prices because of sewer moratorium that's artificially inflating that. And on top of that, you're now asking them to provide their own vehicles. If you're expecting people to live and work in Walton, they're going to go to Independence and other communities. If this happens with other things, not just in this instance, but other things of, can we get this benefit? Oh, we can't because this, but we're going to spend money on this instead, in the face of citizens asking for other things. I just like to put that comment out there.
This is apples and oranges.
No, no.
This is apples and oranges. The park has nothing to do with the trucks.
The city isn't approaching this from a financial perspective.
It's not about finances.
It's strictly a liability.
So the insurance is not going to go up or drop out of the way, correct?
The insurance, when speaking with our insurance provider, our insurance premiums are not based on that at all. You're accurate.
John?
Yeah, one
John,
thing
John,
is,
just a second,
I will-
John, just a second.
Yeah,
This is a primary motion to table. You need to dispatch with that first and then move on. Sorry, John.
No, it's fine.
Okay, so then that would be, there was a second,
Yeah.
and the motion was to table, and then it goes to vote. Rebecca?
Dan Martin,
Yes.
Caleb Flaggy,
Yes.
Amy Long,
Yes.
Sherry Gaskell,
Are we voting yes to table it?
That's what the vote is here. Yeah.
No.
Yes will be taken.
Rose Beach, Matt Brown.
Yes. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta get to work.
So the ordinance is tabled for now, but I interrupted John, and anyone else who needs to speak can do that now.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah,
Mr. Wainwright?
I mean, obviously, I will help with whatever you guys want in regards to finding out the information, helping craft the right legislation, whatever we need. I would just, and I love all these guys in the back of the room, I just want to remind everyone in this room, in the totality of what the last 8 years has looked like in regards to benefits, and we're talking about taking away benefits. The last 8 years, this council has approved over 22% in raises for public works, and they have also taken care of full insurance, out-of-pocket, free insurance. So I just want that to say, I'm not on either side of it. I want, the side I'm on of it is the right side, right? And however that shakes out, let's do that. But I just want to make sure that people in the room know this is not, it hasn't been about, I don't think it's about money. I don't read it at all about money. It's about making sure the city is doing the right thing so we don't put ourselves in trouble. but also do the right thing for the employees. And I think when we look at pay increases and benefits, this council and whoever, and multiple people who've been in that mayor's chair have done that. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Bobby, if you would provide that information to the city, and we'll have the accountant check it out.
You have Ben's contact information, don't you?
I don't, but I'll get it.
Okay.
I mean, that's the only thing and if you're staying, like I said, I'll get that to him, and then if I was sitting up there, back when I was on council, and wanted to argue the liability side of it, the fact that we don't have any information, nobody looked into whether or not there was any accidents. We can't just say, the only person that's old enough that's been on council was Rose, and she did. When we put the stop sign on Central and right before, we contacted the fire department, so we had a history of accidents at that intersection. Granted, that stop sign got put in, and there was never really any accidents there, and chief, that's 20-something years. But
Well, I mean, let's be clear, Bobby. It's not just based on liability, right? This whole conversation, so that we're very clear, came about from our accountant. This is where it came up this time, because we all know, those who have been involved with the city over the years know this conversation has been had several times. The reason it resurfaced is because our accountant let us know that we're violating IRS tax rules, right? So what comes from tonight is absolute change. Whether or not it's going to be parking the vehicles, they've tabled the motion, that's up to council, or we're going to be looking at how it's going to change on our W-2s. And just for knowledge, and you can reach out to Ben yourselves, there's, I believe, two ways to handle it, which will be grossing up your income, where you're going to see that as a benefit. It's going to, the wear and tear on the vehicle and the gas, or it's literally repaying the gas. And so those conversations will continue, but what we do know sitting here is that it's far beyond liability. It's the fact that we're not following the federal law with the IRS. Well, and I would expect that the accountant is well versed on it, Bobby. I'm not questioning your Google knowledge, but I've had several conversations with the accountant, and I'd be shocked if he was 100% wrong. We are talking about another accountant, Bobby.
I talked to the attorney at KLC today. He said, absolutely don't do that.
Okay, so it's been tabled, and so the conversations will continue, but I do encourage any of you that are in question about what's being set up here, reach out to the accountant. His name's Ben. Rebecca can give you his contact information, Ben Harrison. And again, that's where this conversation came about. Okay, so that's tabled. We'll move forward. Unless anyone has any closing remarks regarding. Okay, so we're moving on to 04. So it's the second reading of ordinance 2025-04, an ordinance of the city of Walton, Kentucky, amending section 72.05 of the Walton Code of Ordinances in order clarify when motor vehicles shall be removed from streets and roads during a snow emergency.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As indicated, currently our ordinance says when there is snowfall of 2 inches or greater, that's considered to be a snow emergency. But what this ordinance would do is state when snowfall is predicted to accumulate to 2 inches or greater, the mayor can declare an emergency. There's one other change in there too. That section 72.05 started out by saying pursuant to the provisions of KRS 39.409. That statute has been repealed a long time ago, so we're getting rid of it out of this ordinance. So that's second reading and summary, and you can consider adoption. You can do that by motion.
Motion to adopt.
I'll second that.
Dan Martin,
Yes.
Caleb Flaggy,
Yes.
Amy Long,
Yes.
Sherry Gaskell,
Yes.
Rose Beach, Matt Brown.
The first reading of ordinance 2025-05, an ordinance of the city of Walton, Kentucky, amending section 50.18 of the city of Walton Code of Ordinances in order to require that the home builder, contractor, and/or the property owner is responsible for the water meter pit and related equipment once installed until the occupancy permit is approved and the house or building is ready to be occupied. Mr. Duncan?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As indicated, this is the first reading of this ordinance. This would be a modification to section 50.18. relating to water taps and connections. It's been brought to the city's attention that once the meter pit and the other equipment in the meter and so on is put in, sometimes it's damaged before the people move into the house, and the city is expected to be responsible for that. What this does is puts the responsibility back on the builder or the home builder or the homeowner, if there's not a builder, to be responsible for it so that it's in good shape when the house is ready to be moved into. Not required by law, but you typically do vote on the ordinances on first reading, and you can do that now if you'd like.
Motion to approve?
Second that.
Dan Martin,
Yes.
Caleb Legge,
Yes.
Amy Long,
Yes.
Sherry Gaskell,
Yes.
Rose Beach, Matt Brown.
First reading, ordinance 2025-06, an ordinance of the City of Walton, Kentucky, amending Section 50.55 of the City of Walton's Code of Ordinances in order to revise the fees for connecting to the city's water supply system.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As the Mayor indicated, we currently have Section 50.55 of the Code of Ordinances that set forth water and sewer connection fees. The first revision to that ordinance is to add the words water and to the title. Just now reads sewer connection fees. What this will do is for a 3/4 inch meter would change it from $900 to $1,300. The tap-on charges would go from $300 to $450. For residential, and then commercial or industrial would go from $500 to $700. And then adding a section to that ordinance that relates to meters that are larger than 3/4, 1 or 2 inch meters. We currently have this listed on our website, but it's not found in the Code of Ordinances. So the service deposit would be $150, the water tap $750, the sewer tap $1,500. And if it's going to be 1 inch or larger service, it needs to be installed by a licensed plumber and inspected by the city water department. So that's first reading of that one. You can vote on that if you'd like.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Dan Martin,
Yes.
Caleb Legge,
No.
Amy Long,
Yes.
Sherry Gaskell,
Yes.
Rose Beach, Matt Brown.
First reading, ordinance 2025-07, an ordinance of the City of Walton, Kentucky, amending Section 50.13 of the City of Walton Code of Ordinances in order to require that the applicant for an extension of the city's sewer or water system shall be responsible for the cost of any required testing or computer modeling to determine the effect of the extension on the city's system, and to reimburse the city for any expenses it incurs for such testing and/or modeling.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Section 50.13 currently talks about water and sewer connections need to be made under the regulations that the city would establish, and if they're done otherwise, it's unlawful. This would extend that, amend that ordinance and extend it to recognize that the Kentucky Division of Water, whenever somebody is proposing an extension, like in a subdivision or whatever, of sewer and water, that they require that a modeling by a computer modeling and testing to be done. Currently, the city, and for years, has paid for that. What this will do is require the developer, the owner, or the engineer, whoever applies for the extension, would have to pay for that modeling and testing. So that is first reading of that ordinance, and you can vote on that if you'd like now.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Dan Martin,
Yes.
Caleb Legge,
Yes.
Amy Long,
Yes.
Sherry Gaskell,
Yes.
Rose Beach, Matt Brown.
Resolution 2025-06, a resolution of the City of Walton, Kentucky, adopting and approving the execution of a municipal aid and co-op program contract between the Incorporated City and the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Transportation Cabinet, Department of Rural and Municipal Aid for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025, as provided in the Kentucky Revised Statutes, and accepting all streets referred to therein as being streets which are a part of the Incorporated City. Mr. Duncan.
Mayor and Council, this is the annual resolution that The state provides to us as a prerequisite for accepting the municipal road aid. This year, they anticipate that our share of the road aid would be $127,641.95. And this is done typically every year. And what this resolution would do is authorize the mayor to sign that agreement before they change their mind. So it's pretty good sum of money this year.
It's higher than normal.
Yeah.
So I'm about $82,000, so I would sign it quick. Something happened.
So you'll need a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Dan Martin,
Yes.
Caleb Flaggy,
Yes.
Amy Long,
Yes.
Sherry Gaskell,
Yes.
Rose Beach, Matt Brown.
And Resolution 2025-07, a resolution of the City of Walton, Kentucky, adopting and approving a resolution of the Benton County Planning Commission recommending approval with a condition for a request of Langen Engineering per Sean Hill, applicant, for Pilot Travel Centers LLC per Brad Alsup, owner, for zoning map amendment from Commercial Services C3 to Commercial Services Plan Development C3-PD for an approximate 18-acre area lot located at 13019 Walton Verona Road, Walton, Kentucky, and providing the recommendation be forwarded to the City of Walton, Kentucky. Mr. Duncan.
Mayor, there's a typo on that. Actually, this would need to be done by ordinance, and I have prepared an ordinance, but I understand you all didn't discuss this at caucus yet, so you should take this opportunity to discuss it. This is a zoning map amendment which would need to either be approved by ordinance, or you could wait 90 days and let it go into effect by operation of law, or you could override the planning commission and deny the zone change if you have sufficient reason to do so. What this is they have asked to rezone the property next to the Pilot Travel Center so that they can expand their operation there to allow for a truck repair center, I believe it is.
Tire Center, right?
Yeah, tire center. And there is one condition that the planning commission put on it, and that is that they maintain a connection between the existing property and this new property next door for safety and emergency reasons. And I believe the fire department is the one who came up with that idea. It's an excellent idea. So what you just read is the summary and the title to the ordinance, and if you want to consider that to be first reading of the ordinance, you can vote on that now if you'd like.
Okay, so just so we have a clear understanding, because we didn't discuss it at caucus, this is our opportunity to say yes or no on changing the zoning for 18 acres that would allow a tire center at Fly and J.
There's enough traffic there.
Yeah, terrible traffic. 18 acres is a ton.
Yes, Mr. Wainwright.
So in the discussion component of it, so if you were, I think we've gone down this road before where we've told the planning and zoning board, we disagree with you, right? And then we go to another, traditionally public meeting section, and board of adjusters, and all of that process. And so I don't know if there's anything that I saw with this that would the city could say we have enough evidence to say we don't want it in the board of adjustment. So I just say that because I know we've gone down that road before, where we say, no, thank you, we don't want it, and put a bunch of, whatever. So just to say that I'm just saying that to the group because we're in discussion, we didn't talk about it.
So you're saying there's no evidence of why we don't
Yeah,
want
you would
it?
have to come, right, this group, if you're gonna deny it, would then have to provide
Yeah.
the evidence, and that could be via a public hearing, you have to then this council shall be tonight, to now go collect all the evidence to deny it, right, and so.
Well, and I think that there's something that just, a big elephant in the room when we talk about the interchange, right? So it's already, that intersection's already crazy. The interchange will not be brought up to date for, well, we're in 25, so 4 to 5 years. And I think planning and zoning, they've heard us loud and clear that probably would be evidence enough, whether or not they accept our evidence. But I get you
Well, no,
because,
they didn't accept, because they voted for it, right?
They
said
voted
they had no-
for, they voted for 11-1 in favor of this with the condition. All of the evidence that's in the record now compels the result that this be approved. So my recommendation would be, if you're considering denying the zone change, that we hold our own public hearing and get our own evidence in the record. John's mentioning something that happened previously, and that step wasn't taken. To my knowledge.
It was, just the letter that the attorney wrote, the other attorney wrote included the qualifier for the school.
Yeah, but we didn't have our own public hearing, right?
We did.
Oh, we did, okay.
Correct, yeah,
Yeah.
we did. That was the part, that's what I mean, like, we want to do it. So if we're talking about the condos, I don't know if, everybody, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did the condos, and we
I don't
said,
talk about
the board, planning and zoning, same thing, 11-1, right, said, we want. And we said, no, thank you. We got it, and we had a public hearing. We had to get all the information, quantify it, and then submit it as a reason for denial, right? That's the process if you don't want to do it.
Right.
The other process is you don't do anything, and in 90 days it just happens.
right.
Right, so there's three options that you can take. Denial, but then there's a lot of other steps that go with that. Do nothing, and it will just happen organically, because it's already been approved in planning and zoning. Or you approve it today, and it speeds up the applicant's process to be able to do what they want to do.
Absolutely.
So those are the three options that we would have talked about in caucus for discussion. So it's up to you all to make that decision.
So is there a time frame, or is this something that can be tabled to?
We have time, but if you're considering overriding it, you need to set a public hearing.
Yeah.
We're 30 days or so into the 90-day limit.
Understood.
So we got
So
like
we-
60 days left?
Pardon me?
We have 60 days,
60 days.
roughly?
Right, yeah. You don't have to take any action tonight. But if you are considering overriding the planning commission, we should make preparations for a public hearing.
So there's a lot of steps. If you're going to do a full denial, then there's a lot of steps that this council has to come together and talk about.
Yeah, but it's up to council, but could it be worth it? Absolutely, right? And when we talk about, they've already considered our interchange, well, have they heard us loud enough, right? But again, it's up to council whether or not you want to approve. And Mr. Duncan will tell you by motion.
Well, if there's supposed to be a design that the interchange is supposed to change anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of design. This is the packet that came over from the planning commission. It's got plans and everything.
That's why I didn't copy it to you. That's why I didn't copy it to you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna make a motion to table,
Second.
not because I potentially disagree with it, I just want more time to review it.
I don't know, got it.
Dan Martin,
Yes.
Caleb
Was there a
Flaggy.
second?
I second it, yes.
Okay, sorry.
And yes.
You're good. Amy Long. Yes. Sherry Gaskell.
Yes.
Rose Beach. Matt Brown.
Okay, so we're going to open it up for council comments. Councilwoman Long? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have something?
I was going to say something about how you call on somebody else.
Oh, no.
I was wanting to ask questions about these, B&Bs.
The Airbnbs?
There's one on Edwards that I know of, which is okay, no problem. But the builder, there is a builder who is renovating 2 more homes on the house, on Edwards. And he's going to change, he's thinking about changing, doing one as a B&B across from the B&B.
Well, we have a 20 Airbnb, it's short-term rental. We have 20 limit in the city and we're already at 18, right? So there's only an opportunity for 2 more houses under the current ordinance to be used as a short-term rental.
So that answers some of them.
Well, there's another piece in that too that we probably need to look at because there can only be so many on one street.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, do you remember that? Was it 2 or 4?
I don't remember off the top of my head, I want to say 2.
I think it was 2.
But yeah, I wrote it up, so yeah.
I believe it's two.
There's a limit for that one.
Yeah, 2. I believe it's 2 on the street.
That's it.
Yeah.
Do we know if those people have applied for a permit?
They have not.
Well, they're just now doing change, building. They're not to that point yet.
They're building a house or renovating one?
Renovating.
This is on the lake, no, this is on the street.
Are they renovating or building?
They finished up renovating one and renovating another one.
They have to go to the city and apply anyway, so
Yeah.
that Rebecca would be able to lead them down the right road.
Yeah, and if you want a copy of that ordinance, then Rebecca can help you too. They are listed online, but I know it may not be the easiest thing to well, it's me too, so. But if you want a copy of that ordinance, if you want to know exactly how that's stated, then City Hall can help you. Do you have another question? Okay. Okay, very well. So council comments, Councilwoman Long,
Nothing. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Councilman Flaggy,
No comments.
Councilwoman Gaskill,
I'm good for now.
Councilman Yeah, I was just looking at you, think, Councilman Dan. Thanks, Dan.
No, I don't have anything tonight.
Okay,
Thank
very
you, Mayor.
good.
The train distracted.
Yeah. Then we'll blame it on the train. And open for my comments, which is love seeing a crowd here. Appreciate y'all coming. Good things happening here at the Senior Center. Stay tuned. You'll be getting updates with your newsletter. And everyone have a good evening. Appreciate you all. So we can adjourn by motion.
Second.
Motion to adjourn?
Second again.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got
we
both
did.
of them. All in favor, aye?
All right.
Bye.